What's good, you guys? So, this is my first video on this channel that I ever talked about. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be talking about dimensions. This is just me giving you some loosely based knowledge on the dimensions that I know about. You know what I'm saying? So, um, we're just gonna move forward, talking about each of the basic dimensions. You know what I'm saying? So, the first dimension, that's just basically what it is stillness. You know, the one unified consciousness, like pretty much. That's like the very baseline existence of the universal consciousness. Excuse me. 2D would be like plant life. So it's like consciousness, a very low level of consciousness, but at the same time, it's very stationary. You know, it's like, whereas the first dimension is where it's like kind of just, you know, it's like when you look at the computer, you see a bunch of zeros and ones, the basic coding for a computer. That's why it's like the first dimension, the second dimension, plant life, or like rock life, crystal life, things like that. Like crystals and rocks aren't necessarily living, but they produce an aura. If you don't know what aura is, if you don't know what aura is, you should Google aura or bioenergetic field, because plants, rocks, objects, everything has a bioenergetic field to it. Everything has the aura. You know what I mean? The third dimension would be the what you would call solid matter, things that you can touch, like this. For instance, this cover right here, this hoodie. It's your vessel to a certain degree. The fourth dimension has to deal with what is metaphysical, what is beyond physical reality. You know what I mean? That has to do with the soul, seeing spirits, things of that nature. You know what I mean? So, when it comes to the fourth dimension, explaining the fourth dimension, there's 3 levels to the fourth dimension. You have the lower level, which is, you could call it the carnal plane. The 4D, lower 4D. That's where a lot of the demonic entities reside, and lower level spirits reside as well. And so, your soul, right, as far as being multidimensional, the basic level for your soul would probably be like lower 4D. Not probably, it would be 4D, but it would probably be lower 4D if you're just if you're like most people in this everyday world, where they let their darkness consume them more than their light. And yeah, you probably in lower 4D. You know what I mean? A lot of people that have sleep paralysis when they see demons and shit. Demonic entities really are only able to exist in the lower fourth dimension because they can only feed off of demonic energy, or not demonic energy, but demonic energy too, but negative energy. And as far as negative energy and demonic entities being able to feed off of that negative energy, like attracts like on the spiritual plane. So if you're a bitch ass nigga, you're gonna attract bitch ass nigga energy to you on a spiritual level. I mean that. Like, you know what I'm saying? You probably gonna have some bitch ass entities that are random as hell trying to be your spirit guide because they see you a bitch ass nigga and they like the energy. They want to feed off of that shit. I'm just keeping it real. This is me giving an example, you know what I'm saying? So it's like that. And as far as the second dimension, this is not the second, well, it's a subdimension, because dimensions have subdimensions too sometimes. I don't know if y'all know that. That's what you would call the different levels within the fourth dimension. The middle level to the fourth dimension. That's where, like, it's a mixture of good and bad spirits there, but it's mostly, the majority of them are, positive. you know, that might be kind of like a little lost and shit like that, but that's more like an area where it's like, okay, if there was like online gaming, you know what I mean? It's like, if you think about it like in that aspect, the fourth dimension is like the more like dangerous part of the world in online gaming. And the middle fourth dimension is more like the spot where everyone's usually at. Everyone's really like, lots of people are at. You know what I mean? Like most of the people probably on Earth. You know what I mean? And there's some masters of light walking around there, beings that have incarnated on Earth. And that when they die or, when they pass over, they're in that part of the fourth dimension to help other spirits and guide them, whether it's for their personal benefit or your benefit. Because there can be spirits that you meet there that claim they're trying to help you with some shit, and they're really just trying to harness your energy by having you do certain things or do certain things with them and have you, go certain places, right? And there are some angelic beings on that plane as well. Like I said, there's people at a very it's a very average frequency, but it's like, it's probably it's a decently average frequency. It's average frequency people there, as far as on a positive note, and there's people of a higher range frequency there on a positive note. As far as the higher fourth dimension, when it comes to the higher fourth dimension, this is where a lot of the angelic beings are at, and like the masters of light are definitely here as well. There's not many negative beings in this plane, but they can go up to that plane because this is the fourth dimension. You know what I mean? This is also the fourth dimension has to do with time. You're doing any type of concept as far as dimensions and which dimensions like have a certain amount of time there, where it's like, like maybe a day here is like 10 days there, or like a day here is like a month there. You know what I mean? When it comes to that type of stuff, damn, almost had some dope chin action. When it comes to that type of stuff, as far as time, the time space continuum, that only really goes up to the fourth dimension. When you go out to the fourth dimension, there is really no time. There's a lot of manipulating time, actually. But we're going to stick to the fourth dimension for right now. And so, with the fourth dimension, in the higher fourth dimension, like I said, there's a lot of angelic energies there, and you can go to these different dimensions based upon your vibration. Your vibration, what do I mean by that? The rate and the frequency at which your aura is as it is, you know what I mean? So you can adjust the frequency of your aura. Let's say let's just say you wanted to go to the fourth dimension. I don't know why the fuck you would want to do that. I don't know why you would want to do that. How you would even go about being able to perceive these dimensions, though, first of all, because most people only perceive the third dimension, or if they perceive the spirit world, they perceive one of these levels. Some people perceive things beyond the fourth dimension, and that's where you would get in to be able to perceive and conceptualize the idea of the fifth dimension, which I'll probably talk about in a different video. I'm just going to talk about later. You know what I mean? But as far as the fourth dimension, I don't know why you would want to, but let's just say you want to go into the lower fourth dimension. I don't know why you want to do that shit, though, but I would not recommend you would want to do that. So, first of all, there's this thing called astral projection. Now, when people talk about astral projection, they also might talk about astral traveling as well. Astral traveling and astral projection are probably, are practically the same thing, but pretty much the same thing. Astral projection is projecting your consciousness into the astral plane. So, like, it's really like, a piece of your consciousness is leaving your body and going into that plane of existence, right? Astral traveling is where your spirit comes out of your body and you're actually able to go into the astral plane with an avatar that might look somewhat like your body, or your avatar, which is your body in that dimension, in the lower fourth dimension of the astral plane, would look like probably a silhouette of what you actually look like, most likely. Unless you're but that's a whole nother topic for discussion, when discussing what type of soul you have and what your soul actually looks like and what your spirit looks like. Because what you vibrate on, you actually manifest a form in the other dimensions as well, whether you know it consciously or whether you're unknowing of that fact. It's true. So let's say you don't look like a human. Let's say you have the attributes of let's say you have these attributes. You're very agile, you're very cunning, you're very acrobatic person. Let's say you're on some parkour shit for some reason, right? You on some parkour shit, and you have long hair, you have very good posture, like extremely good posture at all times. You are, what else? Let's say you have this mentality where you walk into the room and you're king of the, you're like a king. You feel like you're royal. You feel like you're a royalty. Now, on the astral plane, you might look like a cat person. I'm just giving you that. I don't know. I'm just thinking about something that like the attributes of someone who would be like a cat person. They call that, like I said about star seeds, you could be a star seed. And there's lots of different types of star seeds. You can see someone on the fourth dimension. You can see that they actually look. So that's not something that I can make up. You can actually look at someone's aura. They have literal devices where you can see someone's aura on the device. You know what I mean? So you can see your bioenergetic field. And there's devices where it varies. You could just see the aura, or you can actually start to see what the person's soul actually looks like. You know what I mean? There's different things like that out there. So I've never had that done to me, but I already know who I am. I already know what I'm about, and I know about myself. So astral traveling, if you want to go to that, the lower fourth dimension, you would have to be vibrating at a negative frequency, trying to connect with some demonic entities. And yeah, that's how you would go about being on the astral plane, is astral traveling. There's different methods to astral traveling, all different types of methods. You just have to look into those methods. Now, if you want to go to the middle fourth dimension, you have to vibrate at a somewhat 50-50 frequency, probably more positive than evil, or more good than evil if you want to go to that frequency. And as far as the higher fourth dimension, you have to be vibrating at an angelic frequency. How you would go about that is, the different frequencies have a lot of different emotions attached with them. As far as the different frequencies of the dimensions, or the subdimensions in the fourth dimension. So certain frequencies vibrate at certain frequencies vibrate at certain dimensions. Love would probably is most likely, if not one of the highest frequencies in the universe. So in order to vibrate at the higher realm, the fourth dimension, you'd have to have mostly love in your heart. There's different chakras that have to be activated to go in certain dimensions. If your fourth dimension, there's a good chance that your heart chakra, or your heart chakra might not be open that much, or might not be open at all. And that's why you're stuck in the lower fourth dimension. Once you get past your heart frequency, that's when you get into more positive, energetic dimensions. You know what I mean? So in order to travel throughout these frequencies, of the subdimensions within the fourth dimension, you have to be able to vibrate at different rates. We already talked about that. Now, as far as the fifth dimension, you have to be vibrating at a higher rate than the heart chakra. You have to be, you have to at least be in your heart chakra. Your heart chakra and all your other chakras have to be balanced for that. So you have to have a very agape type of love. If you don't know what agape means, look it up. You have to have a very agape type of love. Your love has to be very forever expanding and unconditional type shit. You know what I mean? Towards life and towards people. You know, unconditional love doesn't mean like, you know, your mother just keeps verbally abusing you and, you know, you still choose to do stuff for her, like make her breakfast and rub her feet and, you know, chauffeur her ass around. No, that's not what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is more like this. Because there's two different types of love. There's love where you know how to love someone from a distance and you got boundaries with it, and there's love with no boundaries. But even when it comes to these different forms of love, they have to be applied. They have to be applied within different scenarios, and you know, you have to actually apply them in a correct manner. You know what I mean? Also, the way you go about life also determines your frequency. I hope you know that. You know, even if it's your intentions that determine your frequency, as well as your morals, as well as what you do on a day-to-day basis, as well as your diet. Your diet is a huge factor in that as well. For instance, if you're eating a very carnivorous diet, you're probably at the lower fourth dimensional frequency, the animalistic realm, the demonic realm, you know what I mean? You know, so I didn't say that before. It's also the animalistic realm, because it's like animals just given to their urges. You know, that's what I mean by animalistic. That's just attribute of being animalistic, giving into your urges, things like that. You know what I mean? No control, like, you know. So that also determines that. But as far as going back to, because I get off track very easily, I'm sorry, my bad. As far as like the fifth dimensional frequencies, you have to be vibrating past your heart chakra, you know, at the least. With the fifth dimension, unconditional love, yeah, I was talking about unconditional love, I'm sorry. So as far as unconditional love, you have to have an agape love. You know, you have to know when to cut people off. So it's like your mother, you know what I'm saying? As far as that, unconditional love is not, you know, chauffeuring your mother around when she's being verbally abusive to you and, you know, rubbing her feet and all that shit, like, you know, being extra nice. No, unconditional love in the correct form, in a correct way of applying it would be not being around your goddamn mom. Not being around your mom. Going away from your fucking mom. If you're doing all that weird shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? She's being so rude to you and not treating you fairly or with a decent amount of respect that you would hope to receive from another human being. You know what I mean? So that's just like a little analogy for y'all. So like y'all don't get totally lost in what I'm saying. But yeah, as far as the fifth dimension has no time. Once you cross over into the fifth dimensional frequency, you will be leaving time, this time-space continuum. And that is not something that everyone can do. Everyone thinks they're at the fucking fifth dimensional frequency right now in quote-unquote 2021. You know what I'm saying? Niggas really think that they just vibrating at the fifth dimension, no frequency. Excuse me for dragging that out. You niggas really think that you can just eat motherfucking chicken and drink pop, and you niggas is vibrating at the fifth dimensional frequency because you meditate for 5 minutes a day, or you wear crystals. Nigga, get that weak ass shit out of here. You stupid as fuck. That's if you thinking like that, that's very problematic for your soul. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're trying to figure yourself out. No, it is not that easy. You have to go through a lot of shadow work and a lot of light work. Light work would be like light. Okay, here's the thing about dark and light. Darkness is just light that has potential. Pretty much is what that is. Darkness can be transmuted into light. In the spiritual aspect, you ever seen yin and yang where it says good and bad, bad and good? That's just dark and light. That's what that is. That's what dark and light is. When you look at yin and yang, you see the dark and the lights. And you see how on one side it's mostly dark and there's white in it, and on the other side there's mostly white and there's dark in it. You know? That stands for good and evil, dark and light. Just because something is of light, or it seems like it's of light, does not mean it's good. Just because something seems that it is dark does not mean it is not good. Vice versa. You know what I mean? So something that is dark does not have to be evil. It can be good. It can be good and be dark. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say I'm gonna give you an example in the forms of scenarios of what you would call good darkness, and then what you call evil dark, like just evil, just straight up evil shit. Using what is dark for good is like a good form of darkness. For instance, it's like you see somebody and they're about to get robbed on the street, an old woman about to get robbed by like a young dude, and he about to stick her up, and you just see that shit happen. Now, this is a form of good darkness, or using darkness for good. You know what I mean? You go over there and you beat the fuck out that nigga. You take his gun on God, and you might up that bitch on him, or you just beat his ass. And, you know, you take it from him, let the woman go in about her business. That's using darkness for good. Using darkness for bad, or like real evil, going up to that you being that nigga, going up to that old woman and doing that shit yourself. You get what I'm saying? So that's what that is. Now, light, and that's what I call, look, darkness. There's false darkness and real darkness. Real darkness is righteous darkness, you know what I'm saying? And false darkness is evil, because evil is to do the reverse of life, or the living backwards. Live backwards, evil. You know what I'm saying? So using light for good and using light for bad. I'm gonna give you an example for this one as well. It would be using light for good, opening up a cancer donation charity, right? And for all the proceeds, you only keep 20% of the proceeds for your charity and being able to support your charity for your cancer donations, and the 80% of it going to the actual cancer patients. You know what I mean? That's using, you know what I'm saying, your life for good. You're using a positive act to support a positive thing, right? Here's false light. You opening up a fucking cancer donation center, like a lot of these cancer donation centers out here that you donate your money to, just a little, I'm gonna just put that out there a little bit for y'all, just in case you didn't know that. Yeah, they donate most of that shit to their pockets, nigga. You're dumb as hell if you just be giving up to cancer donation centers and you really don't know nothing about them, or unless they're like really small. But let's just say you open up one, right? And then 1% of those earnings go to the fucking cancer patients, and the rest goes to your pockets that benefits you. See, that's false light. That's using a positive act for bad. That's false. That's false light. That's evil as hell. So you got dark and light, evil and good. Not everything dark is evil. Some of it's good, but, you know, it's like that for dark. And then for light, not all of it is good, but some of it is good. You know, you just got to be able to decipher shit, you know what I'm saying? Use your mind's eye to decipher what's right in front of you, you know what I'm saying? The first eye, the true eye. As far as being in the fifth dimensional frequency, you have to manage your dark side, and you got to make your light side more pronounced. And how you would manage your dark side, you got to do shadow work. Shadow work is just that inner healing, whether it's like healing your inner child or just healing your bad habits, you know what I'm saying? And that can be very hard to do, you know? You don't have to, like, let's say you're obese. Let's say you're a crackhead, or you're a person that is addicted to masturbation and their lust. You're just a slave to your lust. How you would go about, each of these people going about doing their shadow work. You see all these are kind of negative attributes. Not all obese people can help that shit, but a lot of them can't help that shit. You know what I'm saying? Don't look at me and be like, oh, I can't help it, because motherfuckers make up excuses a lot. So don't give me that dumb shit, for real. Some of those people really have no excuses. Some of them, a lot of them, excuses, full of them. And that's why they so goddamn full of fat. Fuck you mean. But just keeping it a book. Just keeping it a book. How a fat, obese person will go about doing that shit, you know? Let's say, okay, obviously they're obese, but they have other minor issues that led up to that. Let's say that person is trying to get through the mourning of a loved one that has passed. You know what I'm saying? They got to do that shadow work with that. Let's say they're also self-conscious about themselves. They got to do the shadow work with that and heal that aspect of themselves. And let's also say they just have they're just addicted to eating, and they're an emotional eater. They have to heal that as well. Crackhead. Why is this person a crackhead? Probably because they have a lack of something in their life, really, like a lack of emotion, no support from other people, you know what I'm saying, from outside of them. That could also, because the main thing, obviously there's main things about these people that, you know, but they can work on these things, you know what I'm saying, the main things, but there's also underlying problems. So you got to work on the underlying problems to the big problems too. You know what I mean? It's like that. Excuse me. And so with the crackhead might have some, it might be a woman, she has some daddy issues, you know what I'm saying? And so her father wasn't in her life as much, you know? And that's how she copes with that, because she feels like every time she thinks about that and she gets extremely depressed about how he wasn't there, she goes and, you know, she picks up that pipe, and that's the only thing, sad enough it is to say, that makes her feel whole again, you know what I mean? And the other example, I'm not gonna lie to you, I really don't need to give y'all a third example. You get exactly where I'm coming from with these people that I'm giving you examples of, you know what I'm saying? And so, to go into the fifth dimension, you have to do your shadow work. You know, you have to be able to transmute your darkness into light. You have to do alchemy within yourself. You're gonna have to alchemize your soul. There's a lot of different methods of going through alchemy or self-alchemy. You know what I mean? I've gone through lots of different methods with self-alchemy, and I can tell you it is very, very, very tough, but it makes you just as tough. You know what I'm saying? You're only as tough. You're only able to do something that's as much as you are, if that makes sense. If something's easy, that aspect of you is easy. You know what I mean? That makes sense. Not in like easy in a sexual way. Like you're just easy, like, you know? But that's how much will you have. If this thing is easy, it's like, that's not that bad. You don't got that much will. If it's like kind of moderate, you got moderate will. If it's hard and you recognize that shit's hard, you have a huge amount of will. You're gonna need more than will to get in the fifth dimension, but it's a start. You know what I'm saying? It gets the ball rolling. You gotta have will to do the things that make you uncomfortable but need to be done. It's very easy for someone to do something that's easy, like, you know, easy, and when everyone else is doing it. It takes a very special person to do those things that nobody else wants to do, especially when it's a hard thing that nobody else wants to do. You know what I mean? There'll be more videos to come soon. Have a blessed day. a blessed night, and may the light be with you.